Hi, Stuart Sutton here. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here today, and I know you're going to be glad as well. I'm going to show you how real estate agents are earning six figures consistently without ever working evenings or weekends. Let me repeat that. Without ever working evenings or weekends. Even if you're new to real estate, and I mean brand new, never had a deal before, and in any market condition. And I mean boom, bust, normal, good, bad, it doesn't matter. Because you're about to learn how one simple change causes clients to beat a path through your door and why they won't want to deal with any other agent. And how any real estate agent, including you, can quickly dominate your area and gain an unfair advantage over competitors. And there is a forgotten strategy, but I'm going to show it to you, that causes clients to instantly trust you and see you as their champion. Now, I'm going to give you a fair warning first. You can't unlearn this stuff. It really will change your life. You're probably thinking, well, I've seen plenty of real estate webinars. They seem to all rehash the same things. Sometimes there's a new idea here, there, a new twist here, there. But you know what? I know what real estate is all about, and I've learned to live with it. Well, you're going to have a decision to make. If you knew what I'm about to teach you, you would already be taking weekends and evenings off and earning a lucrative income. So stay tuned, and let's take you down the path where you have to make a decision. That decision will be, should I implement these type of strategies or continue believing what the real estate business told me? And that's that I have to work long hours, weekends, evenings, and sacrifice family time in order to succeed. You see, when I came to the real estate business, I had big dreams. I didn't want to work so many hours that I just didn't have time for family and friends and loved ones. I didn't want to miss weekends and games and events. I wanted to make sure I could be there at 6 o'clock for dinner, hear the adventures of the day, the positives, the negatives, the victories, the challenges, and just be the kind of dad and husband that my family deserved. I didn't want to miss the sporting events and the award ceremonies and the choir performances and just going to the movies as a family. And even though I did all that and worked fewer hours than any agent that I knew, the awards still came rolling in month after month, year after year, decade after decade. I even received awards from major franchises for my performance over a decade. And you can do exactly the same thing. But you'll see and you'll understand what I came to understand, that those awards are meaningless if I'm sacrificing the time that I should be with my loved ones, with my family and my friends. And I won those awards even though I had designed my real estate to include far fewer hours and really break the tradition of having to work evenings and weekends and long hours and do things I didn't like doing. And I did it without knocking on doors or stopping by clients' houses unexpectedly with small gifts, trying to figure out, what do I take? When do I take? How do I take it? I did it without cold calling. How often? How many people? What should I say? I did it without posting on all kinds of social media. What do I post? When do I post? How do I post? I did it without holding open houses on Saturdays and Sundays and missing that special time, or maybe just missing the game that I wanted to see. And I did it without experience because there was no model to follow when I built these strategies and systems. Hi, again, I'm Stuart Sutton, and I consider myself a lifelong real estate insider because I graduated from college in May and started selling real estate in June. And as I said before, I had big dreams and big goals for real estate. But as things started moving along, I realized I was having to do things I did not like doing. Now, I was intent on being successful. I was determined, and I did those things, even though I knew that I disliked them. Now, I could feign, hey, these are great, I don't mind doing this, but let's face it, anyone who's cold called for 2 to 4 hours a day, who's knocked on doors in the Texas heat with a suit on, is probably going to be a little less than truthful if they tell you they really relished it. I was working an incredible number of hours, sometimes 75, 80 plus hours per week, and I knew that's not what I wanted to do, but I was having to do it in order to be successful. And no, that's not my wife or girlfriend, but that picture really resonated with me because I've seen that very situation more times than I can tell you in real estate, because agents take calls. There doesn't seem to be a call that they don't feel they have to take. And it's in the evenings, it's in the weekends, it's when you're having dinner with somebody, it's when you're with your family. I can't tell you how many real estate agents I've seen walking up and down a basketball court or a soccer field or football field or baseball field, or walking out of a performance to take a phone call while their kid's on stage performing. Yeah, you're there, but you're really not there. And that's what this picture represents to me. I actually started getting jealous of my friends who had jobs. Now, they saw me as an entrepreneur, person who set their own schedule. I was my own man. But they were off at 6 o'clock. They were off on the weekends. And they could spend the time how they wanted with no guilt whatsoever. And even though they saw me as an entrepreneur who showed nice houses and drove nice cars and collected big checks as a result, I was actually jealous of them. Because when it comes right down to it, real estate is just not quite as easy as everyone thinks, is it? I remember those days, weeks, months, years, where I would put a piece of paper on my desk with numbers from 1 to 100. Make cold call 1, scratch off number 1. Make cold call 2, scratch off number 2. And I did the same thing when I was knocking on doors. But here's the thing, it worked. I was doing very well. But I was doing very well doing things I didn't enjoy doing. But I was willing to do them, even though I disliked them. And then the day came when I knew I had to make a change. That was it. I was on the master bedroom floor. Nowadays, we call it the primary bedroom. I was on the floor with my oldest son. He was very young. We were playing with his little cars. He liked to line them up, shape, sizes, colors, very organized. He still is. And my phone rang, and he reached out his hand, put it on my arm, and said, "Daddy, please don't answer that." Now, that just broke my heart. I knew that he knew that if I got on that phone, I'd be spending time with someone other than him. So I did not answer that call, and I never answered another phone call when I was with my kids. And I assure you that that is true. And I'm going to explain to you how I did that. First, I started inside real estate. I knew I wanted to take off time with my family and set my own hours. I started inside real estate. I talked to top producers. I talked to average producers. I talked to experienced agents who made modest income but were very steady. I figured top producers, man, they'd have it down, wouldn't they? Well, not so much. Really experienced agents who've been in it a long time, well, not so much. All kinds of agents from all walks of life in all kinds of situations, and I didn't find what I was looking for. So I followed the advice of a really good friend, matter of fact, a mentor and a coach. And he said, go outside the real estate business. So I went and looked in the legal industry, construction industry. I looked among architects, in the medical industry, and a lot more. And there is where I found what I was looking for. And based on the information that I had, since I couldn't find it in real estate, I had to create a new strategy. Now, I'm a big believer in don't reinvent the wheel, as I'm sure you are, but I had to reinvent the wheel. Nice thing is, you don't, because I've already done it. But once I realized what was going on in other industries, I started pulling those guidelines into my business. And guess what happened? I started taking time off. There were many years in my career when I was working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I was still, by far, the top producer in my office and company. Now, I know you realize my results aren't typical, and your results could vary from mine because we're all different. We all have different situations in life and different perspectives on the commitments needed to accomplish this. But I can share a few things with you. Amy went from being a zero producer as a brand new agent to earning six figures consistently with these strategies and never missing family time. As a matter of fact, I talked to her recently, and she had to move to a different area and is going to use those same strategies in that market as well. And Kim raised a theater kid. She tells me that anyone who's raising a theater kid knows how busy that is, but she never missed a performance or practice and runs a thriving real estate business. So if you give me 30 minutes, I'm going to break this down for you and teach you what I promised at the beginning. Chances are you're overwhelmed like so many agents are. There's just so many things you can do to succeed in real estate, but they all seem to be the same thing with different twists. People are teaching this and that and the other, but they all seem to be the other and that and this. But I'm here to tell you there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You can go from being overwhelmed to managing your business on your terms and working the hours you want to work and still earn a lucrative income. Let's talk real quick about who this is for. This is for people who really like real estate, but you just haven't settled for doing things you don't like to do. You like real estate, but you wish you didn't have to work long hours and sacrifice family time or miss events. This is for those of you who've never quite figured out how to find sellers who want to sell before anyone else knows about them, and how those sellers will call you, how you get them to call you to list their homes. And if you already have a successful real estate business and don't need to make any changes, well, how about adding another income stream? Because this is a good one. Let me share who this probably is not for. If you're not passionate about real estate, it's probably not something you want to follow because it does take some time and effort to get up and running. Now, don't think about years, think about months. But there is some due diligence to move this forward. If you like working long hours and that's just who you are, that's great. You can still make this work, but you don't have to. If you like working long hours, you're probably going to do that no matter what, so that's fine. If you really just kind of like things the way they've always been done and don't really like change, might not be the best situation for you to move forward on. And if you like to take shortcuts, maybe that get rich quick, you're looking for that magic pill, this really isn't that either. And if you can't budget for consistent marketing, because I'm here to tell you, you cannot get a return on something you don't invest in. So let's dive in and get into the details. The 5 biggest mistakes that real estate agents make that are keeping them stuck working long hours and having unpredictable income. That's the first thing we're going to cover today. The other 3 I've already talked about, but let me hit them again. One simple change will cause clients to beat a path to your door, and they won't want to deal with anyone else. Any agent, including you, can instantly dominate your area and gain an unfair advantage over competition. And the forgotten strategy that I'm going to show you that causes clients to trust you and see you as their champion. First, let's get into the 5 biggest mistakes. Believing the status quo and that this can't be done. And being afraid that working less is going to cost you business, and not trusting that building leads to maintaining, and not being willing to invest in marketing. And this should be the number 1. The lack of consistency is a killer. Mistake number 1 is believing the status quo and that this cannot be done. Believing that you have to work weekends and evenings. You have to hold open houses every Saturday and Sunday. You have to go over to people's houses after 6 o'clock, after 7 o'clock. You have to show them houses when they want to because they're not available any other time. If you believe that that's the case and you have to stick to that status quo, that's a huge mistake. You won't be able to make something like this work if you truly believe that you can't change. Southwest Airlines is a little company a lot of people are familiar with. What they don't know is how hard it was for them to even get off the ground. It took years for them to even get that first plane off the ground. Of course, they butted heads with competition and bureaucracy and red tape, and they finally got that first plane off the ground. Then they added 2 more planes, and as things were moving along and looking good, a devastating situation cost them 1 plane. So they were back from 3 down to 2. But they had the routes in place for 3 planes. They knew it was the kiss of death if they didn't cover those routes. So they knew they had to find a way to do it. They came up with the idea of a 10-minute turnaround at the gate. If they could turn around each plane in 10 minutes, they could cover the routes that were planned for 3 planes with just the 2 planes. Of course, everyone else said, nope, can't be done. Average time is 27 minutes to turn around at a gate. Nobody's ever done it, and we'll never do it in 10 minutes. Where Southwest Airlines said, hey, it's never been done. We're going to be the first. You may remember boarding or unboarding on a Southwest Airlines plane on the back door at the back of the plane. Well, that's how they did it. They'd land, they'd unload people from both doors, load people back up from both doors. And they got in and out in 10 minutes, and that saved Southwest Airlines. Rest is history, of course. They're incredibly successful and are a model that many other airlines want to follow. But they didn't believe that they had to stick with the status quo. Mistake number 2, being afraid that working less will cost you business. I'm here to tell you it won't. I remember when I started taking Thursdays off to give my wife the day off, and it was great bonding time with my son, my older son, and then my younger son. But I left a voicemail, and I was concerned about it, but I left a voicemail on my phone, and it said, hi, this is Stuart. I apologize that I can't get back with you today. Thursday is my family day, but if you're okay, I'll call you tomorrow morning. If you really need immediate assistance, please call, and I would give them my assistant's number. Now, if you don't have an assistant, and I didn't always have one, but if you don't have one, have a friend in the office cover for you. But the messages I got just really nearly brought a tear to my eye. People left messages like, good for you. Don't you dare call me back today. I'll talk to you tomorrow. You see, knowing that I was a hard worker and committed to real estate, and I put in a lot of hours, or they thought I put in a lot of hours, they applauded my priorities of putting my family first. Mistake number 3 is not understanding that building leads to maintaining. It takes some effort and work and commitment to build something that you can then maintain and earn a lucrative income from. What does that mean? Well, just about any entrepreneur, any self-made person, anyone who's built a business, you can see that. My wife worked for the same real estate company that I did for a while, and she was walking down the hall one day. She was in administration, and several agents were standing around asking questions, and as she approached, they wanted to know where the broker was. Well, she said, well, he's out playing golf. Not thinking anything about that, but it led to some discussion among the agents, and they were kind of complaining about how much golf he played. Well, my wife responded with, well, you know what? He's the one who got up early every morning, 5 to 5:15, in the office building this real estate business. He's the one that committed his funds to leases and employees and all the different things to create a business where we can all work. He's the one that took the risk and put in the time. And when you've done that, you can go play all the golf you want to. As you can imagine, that quieted them down pretty quick. But that's what I'm talking about. Now, it doesn't take years and years and years to do what I'm talking about. We're talking about months. But that broker, somebody I still admire greatly to this day, had put in the time and the effort and the commitment to build that business. And then he could play golf whenever he wanted because the business was running and bringing in the income. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a few minutes. The next mistake is lack of consistency. And this one is huge. This one's so important. Day after day, month after month, year after year. You're going to learn what you have to do, but it's got to be done consistently. I cannot believe how many agents I see that start to do something and it actually works. Hey, where'd you get that listing? It was a FSBO. I only had to call 3 of them and I got this listing. And then they never call another FSBO. Why is that? Same thing with expireds, or they work a farm for a few months and nothing happens, so they quit doing it. It's either it worked and they quit doing it, or they're just short of it getting to work. But consistency is enormous. It's such a big factor. Day after day, month after month, year after year. And what I do isn't sexy and exciting, but it is sure lucrative. The 5th mistake is not being willing to invest in marketing and in yourself. So you can either invest your time in cold calling and door knocking, or you can invest capital into marketing and you'll get a return. As I said earlier, you can't get a return on something you don't invest in. Investing in marketing and in yourself. You've heard the old saying, the most valuable investment you can make is the one you make in yourself and in your education. That's one of the great things about you being here today. You're investing your time in learning something that you haven't heard before. So here's a quick review. Believing the status quo, being afraid that working less will cost you less money, not trusting that building leads to maintaining, not being willing to invest in marketing, and lack of consistency. Now let's hit the next one. One simple change will cause clients to beat a path to your door, to contact you, and they just won't want to deal with anyone else. So let's talk about what I see a lot, and that is the strategy of using the old strategies. Agent comes out of training, they're excited, they want to start their new career, and the broker puts them on the path of using the old strategies. And that's because those old strategies work. But guess what? They're slow and they're painful. When I started, I didn't like cold calling. I didn't like door knocking. I didn't like calling expireds and for sale homeowners. I just didn't enjoy it. Now, was there some reward to that? Well, yeah, you meet nice people all the time, but it is slow and painful. You have to do what you don't like a lot to meet a few nice people that'll do business with you. So remember creating the new strategy that I mentioned earlier? That's exactly what had to happen. I had to think outside the box. I don't really like that term that much, but it kind of makes sense in this perspective. I had to go outside the real estate industry. I had to do some research and find some things that made sense that weren't right under my nose. And as I mentioned, I went to all kinds of industries, and this applies and is used and is successful in all these industries. It is in, and I'm not kidding, it is in plumbing and roofing, in construction. It is in architecture and tax accounting and in medicine and in floor sales. It is in everything. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about because there's a certain breed of person, a certain category of person in all those industries. And that category of person isn't someone who sticks to one industry. That breed of person might love the plumbing business or might love opening a shoe store or might love opening a roofing business. And what's cool about this special breed of person, this special category, societally, we seek these people out. we go find them to do business with them. And what's cooler is that we pay them more, and we don't mind paying them more. And probably better than either of the other two, we trust these people more. And trust is everything. If you are trusted, your advice will be followed. The guidance you give will be appreciated. And the whole deal, transaction, whatever you want to call it, will just simply be smoother and easier and won't make you lose sleep at night. These people, the special breed, the special category, are specialists. People who get more education, more experience, have more knowledge, have more expertise. And that's in every industry. I was diagnosed with glaucoma at a very early age. Thank you, Mom, because I was told it was mainly genetics. Anyway, I had a great eye doctor. He was wonderful. As a matter of fact, he helped my wife's grandmother. He helped her parents. He helped her and me. But when I was diagnosed with glaucoma, he couldn't help me anymore because he wasn't an expert in that. He gave us a referral, of course, but we also took the time to seek out and try to find the best glaucoma expert in the area. So, step number one, we sought him out. Secondly, when I did find someone who I'm very pleased with, by the way, guess what? He makes more than my eye doctor. We pay him more, and we don't mind. And we trust him more. Guess what? If he gives me a piece of advice and my eye doctor gives me a different piece of advice, guess who I'm going to trust more? Well, the one with advanced education, more experience and expertise in this particular area of that field. I met a roofer named Paul. Paul would only work on tile roofs. You wanted a composition roof replaced, he'd refer you to someone else. You need a metal roof repaired, he'd refer you to someone else. He only worked on tile roofs. And guess what? Paul was booked out. Everyone knew that Paul was a specialist. He was an expert. He worked on tile roofs. And they would call him because many times he would just repair the roof, whereas other roofers had said the whole thing should be replaced. And you know how expensive tile roofs are? Now, he was able, of course, to replace many tile roofs as needed because he was an expert in whether it was needed, and people trusted that. As I said earlier, virtually every industry. While a partner and I were developing a 5-acre tract for office warehouses, we sought out, paid more, and trusted more a consultant for utilities. Now, did we have to? No, didn't have to. But his expertise, his advanced experience in education made paying him more worth it. And you can find experts and specialists with advanced knowledge and experience in education in virtually every industry. I could go on with the stories, but I will share with you, once I positioned myself and became an expert in a certain area of real estate, sellers contact me to list their home. My entire business consists of sellers contacting me. So for the last 27 years, sellers contact me to list their home. I don't chase leads, don't have to. Now, I'm not going to position myself right next to my glaucoma surgeon, but guess what? He doesn't chase leads, and neither do I. And yeah, success leaves clues. Think about which agents in your market are the most profitable and have consistent production. Well, why didn't I know this earlier? Why didn't I find this in real estate? Because I wasn't aware. When you become aware of something, you start noticing it. I know that when my wife was pregnant, I noticed pregnant women everywhere. So it's that awareness. But once I became aware of specialists, I started looking in the real estate business and realized it was very lucrative. I still remember back then, he hadn't been around for quite a while, but he called himself the condo king. And as I looked at his stats, he sold a lot of condos. But guess what? He also sold a lot of homes, because apparently a lot of people move from a home to a condo or from a condo to a home, and he would do both sides. And in just about every area that has waterfront, there are specialists in this area, and they do very well. I know the number one waterfront specialist in our area has an incredible business, and there are others besides him that do as well. And I found a little company that specializes in duplexes. Nobody really knows their name. They're not a big name, but guess what? They have a very lucrative business, and people in that arena refer them to other people who want what they do, want what their expertise is. People seek them out, they pay them more, and they trust them. So that's what we're going to do. Position to be an expert to a specific group. And when you know that group and understand that group, you can identify the problems associated with that particular group. And when you know the problems associated with a particular group, you can provide a solution. I want you to think about this real quick. A particular type of property owner has a challenge that typical agents aren't familiar with. You let them know that you understand that problem, and here is a solution to the problem. What do you think happens next? Well, they appreciate you more, they seek you out, they pay you more, and they trust you more. So when you position yourself through branding and target that specific market, guess what people do? They contact you, just like they have me for all these years. The next thing we're going to talk about is how any real estate agent, including you, can dominate your area and gain an unfair advantage. You really can. You're in control. You can literally generate as many leads as you want as a specialist, as an expert. You can turn up the marketing, turn down the marketing. A few years back, my wife had breast cancer, and I turned my marketing down. Now, was it still coming in from previous? Of course, but I was able to spend every minute needed, be part of every step of the way until and after the surgery. And I'm very blessed to say that she hit 5 years in remission recently. But without the type of business I had, that would have been a huge challenge. But because of the type of business I had, it really wasn't even a blip on the screen as far as my business was concerned. Now, a lot of people ask me, how do you become the expert? How do you become the go-to specialist, the go-to expert that everyone is clamoring to hire? Well, you have to develop the expertise and experience. And that's not hard to do. You don't have to spend many years in education, in internship, and residency like my glaucoma surgeon did. But there are some certain steps that you're going to want to take. One of them is to become an expert in the product you're servicing. Knowledge in your product far above your competition. And there are steps that you can take to accomplish that in short order. But when you're completely aware of and knowledgeable about and an expert in the product. And when I'm talking about product, I'm talking about the housing. I have heard trainers say, well, your product is your service. And that's great. I don't disagree with that. But the product I'm talking about is the housing. You see, in my area of expertise, I can tell sellers and or buyers anything and everything they want to know about the product. Most of them are very shocked to find out that I've actually physically seen the houses that are competing with their house. Apparently, most other agents don't do that. But because I have a different perspective than agents who haven't seen those houses. I hope that makes sense. And there's several areas of the market that you need to learn and become aware of: statistics and ratios and information, because there are areas of the market that perform differently. In other words, the area of the market that I am an expert in performs differently than the overall market. And you can provide information that literally nobody else has. And what I call unique knowledge. This increases the seller's confidence in your expertise. If you have an expertise, let's just say in luxury condos, and you're familiar with the insurance that's needed for the homeowners association, I bet most agents aren't. Now that sounds like, well, that's kind of boring. Well, it's really easy to learn. And once you have that knowledge and you can share that with sellers and or buyers, they're perceiving you a little different than they're perceiving typical real estate agents. So when you have that kind of knowledge, people respect it and they respond to it. And finally, the forgotten strategy that causes clients to trust you and see you as their champion. Now, this is a very powerful and very simple process. You send a marketing message that presents the problem. Do you remember when I talked about the specific group, their problem, and you solving it? You send out a marketing message that presents the problem, and then you send them online to a video that solves the problem. Now, right now, you might think, well, gosh, I don't know how to do a video. I've never done a video. Not hard. As a matter of fact, there are many ways to do a video, and you don't even have to be on camera. Now, it doesn't have to be a video. I'm just using that as a sample. Videos happen to be a very powerful way to do that right now. So let's just say you work a unique type of property. Let's stay with luxury condos. And pricing them is different than pricing regular housing. You provide that in a marketing message as, hey, this is a problem. Most agents don't know how to price luxury condos properly. And then you send them somewhere to get the solution. Hey, go here and I'll show you what I mean. They go, they see the solution, and they think, hey, this person's really pretty bright. They are an expert. Here's a quick example of something I've done. You should almost never price your home where your real estate agent recommends. Here's why. Send them to a video, and it says, quit pricing wrong. And it explains to them what's going on. Now, I want you to be aware of that headline that says never price where your agent recommends. There's nothing derogatory about that. Don't think I'm stepping on your toes. Once they go to the video, they see that it's simply a pricing problem, not an agent problem. So the headline is just simply to catch their attention. Here's an online headline that says home sellers commonly waste massive profits doing this. Here's how to stop. Send them to a video. It says, hey, expensive lesson. Bottom line is you present a problem, you solve it. And it's an easy two-step process. But it's a forgotten strategy because it's so simple. So many people have tried to complicate these things. This forgotten strategy provides you with better qualified prospects. Now, I'm not saying they're the same quality as past clients. We all love past clients. But the target market that I'm talking about is just about as close because they trust you as an expert, as a specialist. And when you do this very simple process, present the problem, show them the solution. Home sellers will seek you out. Home sellers will pay you more. You won't ever have to have discussions about your fees. And home sellers trust you more. They'll follow your guidance regarding all kinds of things, pricing and negotiation. And that makes a transaction so much smoother and easier and more enjoyable. And let's face it, when your entire business consists of people seeking you out, paying you more, and trusting you more, it leads to a dependable, consistent income. And that's something that everybody would love to have in real estate. And so few agents actually do have. And there's some more fantastic benefits to doing business the way I'm describing. Imagine that you're the only agent that sellers contact to list their home. That makes getting listing just a little bit easier than when you're competing with other agents. Imagine that you have a consistent, dependable lead source, meaning a consistent, dependable income. You're not one of those agents who never knows what they're going to make from month to month or year to year. As a matter of fact, one of my brokers came to me and said, how do you do this? How do you make about the same amount of money year after year after year? And I said, well, it's because I can turn up or turn down or leave my marketing at the same level. And for these years, I've been leaving it at the same level. Imagine that you don't have to spend time and effort discussing your fees because they're happy to pay you what you are worth as an expert. Imagine that home sellers will just follow your advice instead of pushing back. It just simply makes the transaction easier because they're following your advice and your guidance. And imagine that you're in a position to turn people away. That is an absolute joy. You don't want to be in a position where you have to work with people because you need the commission and you lose sleep at night because of the problems that these people cause. And imagine that you know about listing prospects before anyone else and can capture their attention and their loyalty before other agents even know about them. Well, that's what I've been doing for the last 27 years. All the previous imagine that's are part of my business. And I never worked evenings or weekends. Now, this picture's on here because my kids love to play Pirates. We played Pirates. They love dodgeball, freeze tag, lots of Nerf gun and water gun wars. The weekends were always packed with fun and excitement. But it was with my family, not fun and excitement showing nice houses. I didn't work the evenings and had dinner with my family every night, often with extended family, which was great for all of us. And I literally never missed a thing. Not sporting events, not plays, not performances, not awards banquets, not movies. I missed nothing. In all those years, I can tell you, this was so much more important than any award I could have received. And I was able to work with incredible clients because guess what? When they call you, they have a different perspective than when you call them and try to close them for an appointment. It's a totally different position and they appreciate you. And it's a different situation. My title companies and lenders and inspectors and everybody would always say, you have such great clients. They're always so nice and wonderful. You are really blessed. And I say, yeah, I really am. That's exactly right. Because I work with people I like and want to work with, and it really is fun. So no matter where you are, if you have a thriving business, you can add another income stream. If you're brand new and don't know where to go, this is the answer. If you're in the business and a little bit overwhelmed and really would like to not do things you don't want to do and not work evenings and weekends, then this is the answer. You can quit fighting industry standards if they don't work for you. You can quit the chaos and the hectic hours and missing things. You can quit dreading tasks that you don't like to do. You don't have to do all those cold calling and door knocking and calling expireds and parties. By the way, I advocate doing any and all of those things if that's what works for you. I just chose a different route, and I'm hoping the route I chose is something you might want to consider too. You can quit feeling guilty about missing personal time and not really being there for them, because with this type of real estate business, you can always be there. So let me repeat, for the last 27 years, I was usually the only agent interviewed. Now, here's what I did. I asked sellers if they talked to anyone else and why. And I said, well, no, we figured we'd call you the expert. And if we didn't like you, then we'd call somebody else. So my job was just for them to like me and believe that I was the expert, which was easy to do. And my referral business grew faster than ever. Did you know that specialists get referrals more commonly? I want you to think about that. I referred more people to my glaucoma surgeon than I ever did my eye doctor. I never had to defend my commission. I never had pushback on guidance that I gave people. Now, a couple of quick, unbiased third-party references. Nolly was a very successful real estate agent turned speaker and author. And he says, I've been on the stage with Stuart many times, and I remember when he worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and his clients gave him 5-star reviews. So Betty Carmichael owns a marketing company, and he says that after he met me, he was so intrigued because I had such high production and worked so few hours. He'd never seen anything like it. So now's that crossroads I mentioned earlier. Take one or the other. Stick with traditional real estate, working those hours, evenings, weekends, doing things you don't like to do to be successful, or pursue a new opportunity for your life, your real estate business the way you want to do it, on your terms, based on your priorities. So if you like the idea of building a business based on your terms, book a visit with me. We'll talk about where you currently are in your business. We'll discuss where you'd like to be, and we'll create a plan of action to get you there. If it feels like a good fit, we can discuss options. There's no hassle. There's no obligation, I promise, because please understand it's not a sales call. It all starts with a visit. There will be no offer made on the first call. I will be not trying to sign you up for anything. I've been very blessed. I don't work with everyone. I run my coaching business like my real estate business. I handle a certain number of clients that I can give them the best attention and service. And I do the same thing in my coaching business. So I'm about to drop that link in the chat box. Use that link. Go book a call. Once you book your call, fill out the form on the next page. I tend to be blunt, so I apologize. But if you don't complete that form, I'm probably going to cancel the call that you booked. So we need you to book the call and complete the form. Because quite sincerely, if you're not going to complete the form, you may not have the commitment to take something like this on. And that's just one of the measuring sticks we use. So my apology in advance. So here you go. Continue on the road you're on, or learn more about building the business that meets your priorities. So book that call, fill out that form, and I sincerely look forward to meeting you. Thank you. And remember, it's your choice. Make it a powerful day. Bye-bye.